Have you ever found yourself waiting for a message, a cuddle, a gesture of attention, only to realize that they disappear just when you need them most? It seems that they only show up when they want something, as if your value is measured only by what you can offer them. This is one of the cruelest marks of a toxic relationship, where emotional neediness and emotional dependence mix, making you believe that this is normal, or even your fault. The truth is that many women live this cycle of pain and devaluation without even recognizing the signs, getting stuck in a relationship where love is one-sided and reciprocity is a distant illusion. But what if I told you that this doesn't have to be the case? That this dynamic, however painful, can be identified, understood, and above all, broken. Imagine being able to see clearly when he is using you as an option, when your needs are put aside, and how this affects your self-love and self-esteem. It's time to break out of this vicious cycle, understand that you deserve more than emotional crumbs, and learn to put yourself first, not out of selfishness, but out of true self-worth. This knowledge could be the key to transforming your emotional and love life, breaking away from emotional neglect, and making room for more balanced, healthy, and genuine relationships. So, get ready to discover the 5 signs that clearly show when he only comes to you when he needs you. And more importantly, how to react so that you no longer accept this kind of devaluation. Because being a priority isn't a favor you have to ask for. It's your right. Let's unravel these patterns together and take the first step towards a relationship where respect, reciprocity, and true love are the rule, not the exception. There's a pain that, unfortunately, many women know all too well. That feeling of being alone just when you need support, care, and presence the most. And what hurts the most? It's realizing that this man, who should be adding to your life, simply disappears when he realizes that you need him. But, curiously, he appears out of nowhere, when you want something, when you feel needy, or when you're bored. And the cruelest thing is that it appears as if nothing has happened, as if ignoring your pain is normal. This kind of dynamic isn't love, it's a toxic relationship. It's emotional dependency disguised as a bond, and often the woman, overcome by emotional need, convinces herself that that's just the way it is. And do you know what's most cruel? She starts to feel used. That message that arrives in the early hours of the morning, that sudden, "I miss you," that last-minute invitation. All of this is not a demonstration of love. It's him showing up when it suits him, when he needs to fulfill some need of his, not yours. And here comes a very serious point. As long as you accept this kind of behavior, you're feeding this unbalanced relationship dynamic, where only one of you gives in, only one of you gives of yourself, only one of you carries the relationship emotionally. And without realizing it, you find yourself trapped in a cycle of emotional pain, anxious attachment, and lack of reciprocity. And the most dangerous thing? It doesn't stop there. This same dynamic is reflected in how he behaves in conversations. You know that kind of conversation that feels more like a monologue? It's always him, his problems, his interests, his desires, and you, almost an extra in your own story. And the cruelest thing is to realize that when you try to talk about yourself, your feelings, your pain, he doesn't know what to say. He changes the subject or simply listens to you mechanically, without any real empathy. This is exactly how a woman begins to feel that she is in a toxic relationship, where her emotional existence simply doesn't matter. And you know what's worse? Gradually, she begins to believe that this is normal, that perhaps she's asking for too much. After all, emotional dependence combined with neediness makes the mind distort reality. She gets used to hearing phrases like, "We'll talk about it later," "Now's not the time," or simply notices that he gets distracted, impatient, or even irritated when the subject is about her, about how she feels. And deep down, that uncomfortable feeling of one-sided love grows, where she gives all of herself and doesn't get half of it back. The big problem is that this dynamic isn't just a lack of empathy. It's affective neglect. It's emotional disrespect. And those who are trapped in this cycle often start to ask themselves, Am I the problem? Am I demanding too much? And it's at this exact point that the woman enters a dangerous loop of emotional pain, lack of reciprocity, and worse, begins to accept crumbs, thinking that this is love. Little by little, she begins to realize that she is carrying this relationship on her back. She's the one who texts, who worries, who chases after him, who asks how he is, who is there for him. And guess what? When she needs him, he simply disappears, plays dumb, or minimizes everything. The reality is harsh. She is living in an unbalanced relationship, where there is only connection when it comes from her, when she offers, when she gives of herself. And do you know what's most cruel? Even realizing this, she continues, because the fear of losing speaks louder. And this dynamic isn't just sad. It's extremely dangerous for any woman's emotional health. This kind of toxic relationship, where there is a constant lack of reciprocity, completely destroys self-esteem, feeds anxious attachment, and makes the woman believe that if she does more, if she is more patient, more loving, more understanding, maybe one day he will change. But that day never comes. And do you know why? Because those who are comfortable receiving without giving see no reason to change. At this point, it's inevitable not to feel used, disposable, as if her love itself were something invisible. And the more she tries, the more he pulls away, the colder he gets, the more absent he becomes. And herein lies a harsh truth. Until she realizes that she deserves much more than crumbs, she will remain trapped in this cycle of emotional pain, trying to fill a relationship where only she is truly present. And unfortunately, this dynamic can still get worse. It's amazing how the pattern repeats itself. When he wants something, whether it's attention, sex, companionship, favors, emotional validation, or even support for his own problems, he shows up, all friendly, all affectionate, as if nothing had happened. He swears, he texts, he calls. He even seems to have become the most interested man in the world. And deep down, she even believes him, gives in, because she has that hope that this time it will be different. But as soon as he gets what he wants, puff, he disappears again. This dynamic is extremely cruel. And you know what's worse? The woman realizes she feels she's being used, that he only shows up when he's interested. But often, the fear of facing reality, that deep fear of lack of affection, of emptiness, of emotional abandonment, makes her delude herself, ignore the signs, and accept this toxic game, pretending to herself that she doesn't notice. And so she remains trapped in this emotional dependency disguised as love. For those who are experiencing this, it's essential to start observing yourself. Ask yourself, does he show up when I really need him, or only when he needs something? The answer often hurts, but it sets you free. Because one thing is certain. Those who come to you only when they want something don't love you. They only love what you offer. And if she doesn't realize this now, she runs a serious risk of falling into an even deeper cycle of devaluation and affective neglect. When she tries to open up and show that she's feeling neglected, what usually happens? He responds with accusations. You're too needy, you're exaggerating, or you're being dramatic. It's a classic toxic relationship, where the woman ends up feeling guilty for asking for something as basic as attention, affection, and appreciation. This reaction generates enormous internal confusion, and deep down, she begins to doubt herself and her own perception. This kind of response undermines self-esteem and strengthens emotional dependency. When lack of affection is treated as weakness or freshness, insecurity grows, and the woman starts to keep quiet to avoid conflict, even if this causes silent emotional pain. An important step is to learn to identify these situations and strengthen self-confidence so as not to accept this kind of devaluation disguised as criticism. Practically speaking, it is essential that she begins to position herself clearly and firmly, setting emotional boundaries that protect your heart. For example, When expressing her feelings, it can be useful to say something like, "I need you to listen to me without judging me, because this is important for our relationship." This attitude shows emotional intelligence and reinforces the importance of healthy communication, preventing emotional need from becoming a reason for constant devaluation and suffering. Now that you know these clear signs that he only comes to you when he needs you, it's time to reflect. How long are you going to allow this dynamic that erodes your self-esteem and feeds your neediness? Is it really worth continuing to wear yourself down emotionally, accepting crumbs and living in a one-sided relationship that only generates pain and insecurity? The first step towards a real transformation is recognizing your value, your strength, and understanding that you deserve a healthy relationship where love and respect are reciprocated. Think about the choices you have made and the impact they have on your emotional and love life. How about starting to set clear boundaries, practice self-worth, and cultivate the feminine self-confidence that is the basis for attracting truly balanced relationships? Are you ready to break out of this cycle of affective neglect and emotional dependence and build bonds that truly nourish your heart and mind? Remember, change begins within you and is an ongoing process, but every step you take is a victory that brings you closer to full happiness. So, are you ready to take that step now? Do you want to learn how to put yourself first and earn respect without having to beg for love? Then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and keep following this content that will transform your emotional and love life. Let's go on this journey of self-knowledge and healing together, because you deserve much more than you've received so far.